Hey guys, what's up? Time for another video to keep my channel active, and I got quite a few things to ramble on about, I guess. Um, and the most important of that is going to be something that's very relevant right now. I'm going to do that sort of how I've done, that supposed burden of being attractive kind of videos. And I'm going to do something more about real burdens, and I'm going to do that whole thought that I'm sure quite a few people have heard before that are actually really sick. But you don't look sick kind of thing, right? And of course, that has been very relevant through most of my life since I've been sick most of my life now. And this has been a really bad year health-wise. I've been in and out of the hospital just the past, going to be 8 weeks now next week if things continue to go bad. So I've been very sick lately. It's probably been the worst year health-wise since I was had all the dying stuff going on around 2008 when that started. So health has been really bad, and like I said, I've been sick most of my life, and you always hear those, but you don't look sick. What are you talking about? And a lot of people are very surprised to hear you're sick, and that's an actual burden of being. Not that I think I'm that cool, you know what I mean? I've never thought that I'm that cool, but that could be an actual burden of being attractive in quotation marks. Anyway, if you hadn't seen the first video, someone was talk a little bit about that and about some other things, especially since I've been really sick again this year. One of the things that always happens when I'm in the hospital a lot or I have long periods of illness, I start to have regrets about my life and regrets, you know what I mean, those kind of things. I'm feeling a little bit bitter about things. So, like I said, I have a few things to talk about. But if you hadn't seen the first video, which I'll link to, obviously the first video, the burden of being attractive, is kind of a and satire, kind of a joke, right? Because people complain about, oh, it's so terrible to be hit on, blah blah blah. At least some people do, which I think is really terrible, disgusting. And to do short cliff notes of that, I've had an extreme life. I went from being, abused to being, and of course, being, made fun of in school, rocks thrown at my face, girls telling me I'm ugly in class in front of everyone, to, being a model, having my autograph asked for, traveling all around, blah blah blah. And even even nowadays, even after I've been sick, I still have girls do a lot of crazy stuff for me. And that isn't to say that nothing bad ever happens. Like I said, I've had a doctor grab my dick before. Um, you know, uh, I've had lots of bad things happen. Girls say they won't be my friend unless I have sex with them, so they spread lies, blah blah blah. So the whole idea is like bad things can happen. Do you know what I mean? But it's much better to be deemed generally attractive. At least there's some positive things can be positive from that. Whereas when you maybe are seen as not as attractive, there's no really positives of that if you're always getting made fun of. You know what I mean? So at least you know what I mean. So be thankful. Don't be full of yourself if someone thinks you're attractive. And if someone comes up to you and compliments you, I think you should take that and be nice. Like I said, I've said it before, I try to answer every message I get, and I've gotten thousands of messages before, you know what I mean? So anyway, but speaking of that, so anyway, like so a real thing, and and of course, like the second video I was actually trying to talk about, if anyone watched that, I actually think it can be healthy to objectify a little bit, because if you cannot objectify someone, then probably I think there's a bit of a problem, probably hormone wise or something. Because I could say again, as someone who's been in the hospital a lot, I can say that when I have no desire to objectify anyone whatsoever, that's generally when I'm feeling pretty sick. A lot of times, you know what I mean, feeling like emotionless. So you need to be able to objectify a little bit to. It's healthy to be able to objectify a little bit, and objectify does not have to be taken in a negative sense. Obviously, you can objectify in a negative way, and you can objectify in a perhaps positive way. Anyway, so anyway, so let me talk about a real burden of being supposedly attractive, of being again, not that I think of that I'm cool, but of being attractive. And one of those things is obviously a lot of people probably heard that oh, but you don't look sick, and that is definitely something I've gotten a lot of in my life. Normally, I mean, obviously, people, I know some people have seen it, and people have commented on it, you know what I mean? I have been really sick again this year. I've been sick since around the end of last year till now, you know what I mean? So a good year now, probably, just really sick. And like I said, just this summer has been really awful. Just a lot, in and out of the hospital the past 7 weeks, you know what I mean? And you can probably tell, I've been shedding just a ton of hair from the past year, you know what I mean? Really sick again. So you can probably notice my hair is a little thinner, which always scares me because I've had times where, especially when I first got sick, I lost most of my hair, and I basically wore like a hat 2 years waiting for it to grow back. So whenever I have like long periods of like losing my hair, you know what I mean, that pretty much scares me. And of course, I think you can see it in my eyes too. Like my eyes look pretty sick. So I think there you can see health-wise that shows up with me. But of course, I force myself really hard that I don't look sick because I don't want to look sick. I think especially as someone, again, I'm supposed to eventually die. My health is supposed to keep getting worse until I die, whatever. But I don't want to die a sick person, right? So, I force myself to work out, you know what I mean? I've worked out, work out next to garbage bags if I have to throw up, you know what I mean? I forced myself to work out really. Or when I collapsed, I had that blood clot, couldn't walk for a while, you know what I mean? So I just did push-ups, you know what I mean? I pushed myself really hard because I don't want to look sick. And as someone who is really sick, and this isn't just like, oh, you're sick, like, oh, you don't feel good, this is dead. This is like, I have life or death conversations with my doctors. You know what I mean? I had to sign a death waiver just recently to be let out of the hospital, actually. So, you know what I mean? I have like real, real sick stuff. And it's almost like I get shit on because I push myself so hard not to look sick that I actually get that. Again, I'm going to put the burden in quotation marks, right? But, that's an actual burden. And that's like, everyone in this world, I feel like they want everyone wants, or not, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people, they always throw their negativity on you, and they want they want everyone else to be miserable sometimes, I think. You know what I mean? Like, they always want to feel like everyone else has an easier life than them and everything like that. And that is one real, I guess, burden, you could say, of being deemed attractive. Again, I don't want to say it like I think that I'm attractive, but you know what I mean? When people see someone they think is good looking, they think that, oh, they must have an easy life or something. And then, of course, you know what I mean? Of course, when they hear that I'm sick, they're like, what? You're sick? Like, what? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've definitely had many people, maybe let's just say acquaintances, not super good friends, but acquaintances that I know, and they hear that I'm sick, and they're like, "Wait, you're sick?" Like, I thought you were just oh, like I could tell you were tired all the time, but I didn't know you were actually like sick, sick. It's like, yeah, dude. When I said I'm sick, I mean I'm like sick, sick. I like literally was in the hospital, dude. That was like not a joke, and like that is definitely a burn because people want you, especially I guess if you look like I do, I guess, right? Like people want to assume like I'm some crazy man whore a lot of times, and even if I wanted to be, which sometimes I do, but you know what I mean? I just don't have the energy to be a man whore sometimes, right? I think being busy with doctor stuff and in the hospital, you don't feel good, and when you don't feel good, a lot of times you don't feel like having sex. I mean, that's just the honest thing, right? And of course, it's like a real downer. Like sometimes you hang out with people, and it's like when I'm not in the hospital, like sometimes sometimes you hang out with people and like you can only take so much. You can only be put on a good face for too long. And some people are so like, I guess it was like a Debbie Downer or something like that. You know what I mean? You can only have so many bad vibes thrown at you at one time, right? And some, I'm gonna start to ramble. um, it's hard to like combat that because you know what I mean. It's like I only have like so much will to put on a good face, and when someone's like being so negative, like you go out with people, sometimes it's like I don't have the will to kill you with kindness right now. Let's say that. You know what I mean? Like people want to assume you're a bad guy, and then you're not allowed to be human, and especially when you have like serious medical problems, right? Like I mean, I can't tell you how many terrible messages I get. Like I said, I try to answer every message I get. I've had like I have thousands, right? But sometimes, I get really awful messages because of how I look. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like messages like this is like the start of like a super villain. You know what I mean? Like reading some of these messages, like really hateful things. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, man, like sometimes I just have like that weird kind of like I just have that weird kind of look sometimes, I guess. Like it's just like there's just no way this guy could be sick, I guess. And And I've talked about this with others. She's like it's like a weird level. I must have like a weird level of like attractiveness or something in some way. Because even today I went out and I don't want to like get into specifics, but do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I go out, dude, and man, like, dude, like there's just people all over me. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had, autograph, asked for even, still even, not that I model anymore, and but you know what I mean? Like, I'm still, I guess, I stand out sometimes. You know what I mean? And sometimes people like go crazy, and sometimes I go out and people they just don't care. Like I just have that weird kind of like I walk that thin line of being I don't know. I'm not sure how to explain it, I guess. Not looking like a real human being that can have a conversation. I'm not sure how to explain it. You know what I mean? Like some people go crazy and some people just automatically hate me and some people I don't know. It's weird, right? I mean, like I said, I feel lucky enough that I have had people do some pretty crazy things for me that I'm sure other people will never get to experience. And I've also had a lot of bad things happen to me that I'm sure other people never get to experience. Anyway, so that's a real burden. Do you know what I mean? And that is something that is really hard. Do you know what I mean? Always trying to put on a good face, and you always know everyone wants there to be something bad with you sometimes. And even the people that like you, they don't even like they may not even take you seriously that you're sick unless they've actually seen you. You know what I mean? That's one thing's definitely, sometimes you meet girlfriends and now it's like, oh, I want to take care of you. Like, oh, you're sick? Okay, blah, blah. And you're like, wait, you're really sick? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then they might see you and it's like, whoa, it's like, I did not realize you were being honest. Like, you are like sick, sick. So anyway, but anyway, something, okay, I'm trying to get it. I'm rambling, but I wrote down some things. And I feel like I could rock fuck. I wrote down what I should talk about. Anyway, um, whatever. What else has been going on? So one of the things though, being this sick again, like I said, in the hospital a lot again, and things are going bad. One of the things I get a lot of times in this, I start to feel like regrets and like about a lot of things, and one of the things I lived my life, you know what I mean? Not that I'm like a what would you call that? A Gandhi or something. Not that I'm like some super amazing nice person, right? But I would like to think of myself. I think of myself as a pretty morally just nice person, right? I mean, I give everyone a chance. I'm not going to homeless shelters every day and helping out people, but I definitely take time out of my day. Like I said, I try to answer everybody. I go out of my way to try to be nice to everyone, and I feel like a moral standardness and standards of like being a morally nice person. I feel that I am a pretty good person, and especially one of the things too, after I was like dying and everything like that, one of the things I told me is like, I wanted to be able to die, and because I've had to just writing my will at one time, I wanted to be able to die that no one would ever think that I'm like a bad person, right? So I go out of my way to the point of being a bitch sometimes, of showing that I'm a nice person, right? Killing everyone with kindness, and just so like no one would have anything bad. And that's one of the things that sucks too, because I have that strong moral desire to die with everyone knowing that I'm a good person. And again, that's not just to say that I was a bad person before, because I was, or no, because I wasn't a bad person before, but it made that desire stronger. You know what I mean? All these like sick things, and that's something that sucks too, because of how I look, people assume I'm a bad person, and that's like a very, I have like regrets about that, I guess. And one of my regrets is being too nice. Actually, like I feel like one of the things is like I think a lot of people when they go through life or death stuff, they they feel like, oh God, like why was I mean to that person, or why did I, that was so stupid. But a lot of my regrets, again, I start to think about a lot of my regrets in life is not being more mean and being too nice. You know what I mean? Like being sick for someone. It's like, man, I really wish I was not as nice. Like it is it's actually kind of like being nice is almost like and again, not that I think I'm a super nice person, but being nice in a morally kind of like just kind of way I'm trying to explain, I think is a burden because I think it's a very it's so easy to be fake nice. Do you know what I mean? Like just full of yourself, kind of nice, you know, but not actually nice in a way that you won't be getting um, recognized or something like that. Just nice to know that you morally did it. So maybe that could even sound selfish in a way, but being nice just because you know it's morally the right thing to do is almost kind of like a burden too, I think, because you know there's so many people. I feel like when you're an asshole, there's always someone willing to feel bad for you, like, oh, this person's an asshole because maybe they had a bad life, blah, like that's an excuse, right? Like maybe they're um you know, some of there's like when you're an asshole, I feel like there's always someone that's willing. There's gonna be someone that's willing to feel sorry for you, and it's just such a fucking cop out. Do you know what I mean? And it makes it harder for everyone else, I guess. Do you know, like legitimately more nice people. Again, I don't want to say that I'm super nice because it's just a morally nice. Let me get a drink of water. Oh man, sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, like, I feel like a lot of people, and a lot of people that I feel like say they are nice too. I'm so rambling here. A lot of people that just say that they are nice, you know, really aren't that nice either. I feel like if you have to say you're nice, you're probably not that nice. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Again, that's something that's happened a lot this year, just because you know I feel like there's so many people that go on about how nice they are, and then you talk to them, and it's like, man, you're kind of a fucking bitch, or you're a cunt, or you're an asshole. You're really not that nice. Do you know what I mean? Like talking to some people. And it's just kind of like, man, dude, it's like, what? Like, everyone has a shell to break to an extent to get to see the real them, to see how nice they can be. Because obviously, even the person that maybe say is a little bit of an asshole on the outside might be nice on the inside. But there comes a point you can only break so many layers of a person before actually, you know what, they aren't nice, even if they say they are. You know, this shell is so thick and there's so many layers. Like, they need to look in the mirror. Like, you're not as nice as you think you are. Like, anyone that would have to like work this hard to see like a nice side of you, you're in like, and you go on about how nice you are. Like, that's kind of bullshit. And that's something too that, again, getting back to the one thing, like, you know, people complain about being hit on, which I think is terrible. Like, I mean, it makes me feel like they're so full of themselves, and it makes it harder for, again, not that I think that I'm super cool, but for a person that actually goes out of their way to like answer everyone that talks to them, just to show like, hey, I'm not an asshole. Like, please don't fucking associate me with like some of these fucking people that are full of themselves. You know what I mean? It just makes it hard because it's like, man, you're like bringing this negative stereotype on others. You know what I mean? And yeah, I don't know. Calling other people creepy when sometimes you know you're the one that's creepy because you're so full of yourself you can't take a compliment. I don't know. I'm rambling, right? But yeah. So regrets, though. You know what I mean? That's one of the things. I always get regrets when I have long periods of illness. You know what I mean? It's just like, man, dude, I wish I was more of an asshole, like using people more. You know, I wish I was more of a man whore. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like if I was like a little less sick, do you know what I mean? I feel like I could really rock it because you know I do go to the hospital sometimes, and you know the nurses are like they get pretty horny sometimes. You know what I mean? And I feel like, you know what, if I was just a little sick, I could still rock this. Like, hey, yeah, you know, if I had like the energy, but a lot of times, you know, I'm in the hospital, I'm so tired. It's like, dude, I can't even like, you know, flirt as the sick guy. It's like, dude, I just don't really. I'm just too legitimately like fucked up all the time to like work it, I think. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Uh, yeah. I rambled a lot. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel that's a real burden. You know what I mean? Keeping my channel active. I'm trying to make some other more videos because I haven't really felt like showing myself because I know, like I said, some people say it doesn't like my hair still looks good, and I guess you know I haven't lost, you know, enough as much as I did when I had that really bad period of sickness before. But you know, I just hate when you can tell how sick I am and I've been losing weight and having trouble working out from being in the hospital so much. So you don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel like showing yourself. You know what I mean? And then you got to like deal with people like, oh, geez, you're still so attractive, and you know, maybe they just think that I'm still a bad guy, or people like, you can't be sick, and it's like, man, they're like discrediting you, and it's like, dude, oh, do not throw a negative vibe on me, dude. It's like, dude, oh man, you know, I just hate when you go to your way to be nice to so many people, and it's just like, and you see these people in life, and it's like, man, you have no idea what it's like. Have you been like dying before? Like, what are you complaining about? Did you know what I mean? And then it's like, no one bit, but because I force myself, you know, to stay as healthy as I can. You know what I mean? I get shit for it. Anyway, do you know what I mean? I rambled. You know, I've been trying to make this video for a while, but it's hard for me to. I don't really. I have the urge to complain, but then once I start, it's like, what's the point? You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to find the enthusiasm. But it's a serious topic, and you know what? It is important to me because it's my fucking life. So, I mean, I should complain about it, right? Because I mean, it's a serious thing, guys, right? But anyway, you know, I feel like that's a real burden of being attractive. Do you know what I mean? Like, not someone hitting on you, being nice to you, having to respond to people's messages. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, things could be much worse. You know what I mean? Like, but I will agree, an actual burden is like, but you don't look sick. Like, that's an actual thing. Did anyone watch all of this? I don't know. Yeah, so, like I said, so much easier to be just an asshole, you know what I mean? I have a lot of regrets about that. If I could go back in a time machine, I would not be religious when I was growing up. And I would be definitely more mean, and I would feel like I would have fucked a lot more girls, I think, like that, right? Been a little bit more of an asshole, I think. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I got some more videos coming up, though. I do need to make some more videos, though. Anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah.